Yo, what's going on guys? Mike the Explorer here. In this video, I wanted to share with you guys some books that I've read about epic fantasy, epic adventure, sci-fi, that whole kind of thing. Also some books that I've just had on my shelf that I felt like were worth showing you, so take a look. So the first one we got here is Journey to the Center of the Earth, a classic book. A few of these are going to be classic ones that you probably already know of. But this one has been made into many films with Brendan Fraser and The Rock. But basically, it's about these three guys who take a trip to the center of the earth. I'll read the back for you. Guided by a mysterious code found on an ancient parchment, Professor Lindenbrock, his nephew Axel, and their guide Han set off down a volcano on a quest to reach the center of the earth. Along the way, the three explorers encounter many obstacles, such as prehistoric animals, violent storms, ferocious cavemen, and more. Join them on their exciting journey. It's a good book. I read. I'm on chapter 8 actually, so it's just cool. You know, it's just if you're into adventure, if you're into this kind of thing, it's just really. I mean, even if you watch the movies, you don't. It's just something about reading the book. It just brings a new light into it. You know, I watched the books, their movies. I watched the movies growing up, and reading the book, it's just a new experience and it's a new adventure, even if you already know the story. Great book. Great book. Next classic adventure we got here is Robinson Crusoe. Okay, you know the story. You've seen the movie probably with the guy who plays James Bond is the actor, I'm pretty sure. But it's your basic survival island kind of story. This guy, Robinson Crusoe, gets shipwrecked on an island. He has to survive there. I read a few chapters in. Another classic adventure. He has to overcome he has to overcome obstacles, of course, learn more about himself. I'm pretty sure he meets a guy there on the island. And it's just interesting, you know? It's just I feel like writing this was made in 1719, so of course a classic, but I feel like writing like this is rare. You know, I've skimmed through it before. I watched the movie and it's just like I said, it's just interesting to read the book compared to the movie, but even that has little pictures in there and everything, it's just a classic survival adventure novel, so good read. Next book we got here is Lord of the Flies. Okay, another classic book. You probably read it in school growing up, but it's about a group of young boys who are on a plane and their plane crashes on an island, similar to Robinson Crusoe, but with a plane, you know. But the cool thing about this book is they're boys. There's no adults there. So I think their ages range, but they're from anywhere from like 5 to like maybe 10, 12. I read a few chapters into this book as well, but so far it's just interesting to show how some kids will become the alpha male, some will be beta male, some will take the lead. It just shows the psychology, and I've heard later in the chapters they even go as far as like, you know, worshiping devils and stuff like that. And it gets really effed up, to be honest with you, what I heard, but it's a good read so far. I really enjoyed it so far, and it's starting to become that what I'm hearing about, just like the weird things they do to survive and sacrificing animals and all that stuff. But it's interesting so far, and classic recommended read. All right, now let's get into some fantasy. All right, so the first book I ever got into fantasy-wise was The Alchemist. And The Alchemist is basically about this shepherd boy who is poor and he's kind of lost in life, and he ends up traveling across the world to the Egyptian desert in search of buried treasure in the pyramids. And it's your classic kind of treasure story, like, you know, looking for treasure kind of story. But he meets different people. He meets a gypsy woman, an alchemist he meets, and just, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but basically about this boy in search of who he is and in search of different buried treasure along the way, which I feel like is a good combination, you know. But what I like about this book, I didn't finish it. I'm almost done with this book. I have a few more chapters to go. But so far, I love the way the author just paints the image in my head. You know, for me, I haven't read this book in a few months, but what I remember most is like the scenery and the nature. He talks about just the way he describes the deserts and the different landscapes and the different I remember he talked about how the wind was blowing. I don't know, just little things in the book really makes it stand out. And the character's great. The character's name is Santiago. Santiago is the boy's name. And just a good book. You know, your classic story, adventure kind of story. But um, yeah, good read. Good read. This book we have here is one I picked up a few weeks ago. It's called Old Man's War by John Scalzi. And it's the first book in, I think, a trilogy. Maybe there's 4 books, but I think it's a trilogy. And this one is interesting. It's a sci-fi book, adventure sci-fi. And I'll read you the first sentence. It's pretty interesting. Listen to this. It says, the guy's name is John Perry, by the way, the main guy. He says, I did 2 things on my 75th birthday. I visited my wife's grave, and I joined the army. Okay? So, this guy turned 75, and he joined the army. Okay, you're probably thinking, what the hell? You know? But in this book, what happens is when you turn 75, when you retire, you are given the option to join the military. And when you join the military, the main reason people do at that age is because they promise that they can somehow, I'm not sure yet, but they can somehow reverse your age, or they can make all your problems go away in terms of your health. And you will feel, or you will actually be younger. And it's interesting. Basically, what I read about the book is it's about this guy named John Perry who joins the military and fights aliens, that whole kind of thing. And it sounds really cool though. Earth itself is a backwater. The bulk of our resources are in the hands of the Colonial Defenses Forces, and everybody knows that when you reach retirement age, you can join up. So it's cool. It's a different take on it. Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's about expansion of Earth, you know, and it talks about this group of people, the CDF, who I guess are kind of like NASA. But they developed apparently a way to reverse your age for older people. That's why they join. But it's cool. It's your epic sci-fi fantasy. Like I said, the first book in, I believe, a trilogy, maybe 4 books, but a few chapters in, and it's a good read. Next book we have here, I got today actually. It's called Atlantis by David Gibbons. And this is your classic story told many times, but it's about a group of people in search of buried treasure. In this case, it's Atlantis. This is the first book in, I believe, 8 or 9 stories. It's called the Jack Howard books. The main guy is Jack Howard. Basically, it says marine archaeologist Jack Howard has stumbled upon the keys to an ancient puzzle. With a crack team of scientific experts and ex-Special Forces commandos, he is heading for what he believes could be the greatest find of all time, the site of fabled Atlantis. And basically, there's these books are, you know, he does the Da Vinci Code, he does different tombs, different lost tombs. It reminds me of Tomb Raider / Uncharted / Journey to the Center of the Earth, you know, those kind of books. But I heard this is really well written, you know. But the first book, and like I said, 8 or 9 books, I'm not sure. I didn't read it yet, but yeah, it sounds very interesting. And if you like these kind of books, you'll like this one. If you like adventure, that is. So I saved the best epic fantasy for last, okay? This book is by Patrick Rothfuss. It's called The Wise Man's Fear, okay? It is the second book in the Kingkiller Chronicles. The first book is called The Name of the Wind. And if you know fantasy, then you probably know these books. The way I saw it rated online is it goes Game of Thrones, and then right below it is these books, the Kingkiller Chronicles. This, for me, The Name of the Wind, the first book, this is the second one. There's a third one coming out. I'm not sure when, but these 2 are out for now. But for me, The Name of the Wind, the first book, is what made me fall in love with reading. I started reading about, I always hated reading growing up. I hated it, you know. I just had so much trouble with it. My mom would help me out a lot with my book reports in grade school and everything. But I told myself last year that I was going to start reading. Just because I always kind of enjoy the idea of it, but I never actually did it. And this is the first book I actually read, fantasy-wise, was The Name of the Wind. That I really got into, and actually wanted to read. Then I had to force myself, you know. Basically, it's about this boy named Kavoth, who, it tells the story through the past and present. The present is when Kvothe has grown up, and he's become a legend. It's basically he owns a tavern, owns a bar, and this scribe comes in and wants him to tell a story. So basically, it's just him, Kvothe, telling his whole story throughout his life, and most of the book is based in the past with him going to a university to learn how to be an not alchemist. What's the word? Yeah, I guess alchemist. It's kind of hard. They use different terms, but basically, how do you learn how to use magic? I won't spoil anything. So what happened mainly in the beginning was he was traveling with his family, who were a bunch of performers, kind of in a troupe, in a circus kind of thing. And something happens, and then he, in search of answers, goes to the university and tries to find himself and find out answers. I won't spoil it, but yeah, it's a great story. It really is. And the way Patrick Rothfuss, the author, he just, for me, it's not like I thought it was going to be more about, dragons and finding treasure, stuff like that. It's about those things, but more so it's about the character, Kvothe, and his friend at the university, his family, and the way that the author really just makes you feel for them right away. You can relate to his struggle. There was a time when Kvothe was homeless for a while. He was an orphan. And it's just, you relate to the kid's struggle. You relate to his thoughts, like the way that he words things is just like, oh my god, like it's just relatable. The book in itself is relatable, even though it's built in this fantasy world. It's so relatable. Great book, great. I'm halfway, or not halfway. I'm about a quarter of the way through the Wise Man's Fear, but definitely, if you like fantasy, this is the top choice for me. I never read Game of Thrones, but I'm sure that's, awesome as well. But for me, this one is just these two books, Wise Man's Fear and Name of the Wind. There can't be better. All right, so those are all the fantasy books I have. I want to share with you 3 more books that I've had over the years, too, that I just kind of thought I'd throw in here just for fun. This one is another classic one I had laying around, The Old Man and the Sea, Ernest Hemingway. You know the story. Kind of like Moby Dick kind of thing. Santiago's the character, again, like the Alchemist. An aging fisherman who struggles with a giant marlin far out in the Gulf Stream. Basically, Moby Dick kind of thing. But it's, I read a little bit of it. It's interesting. This one is different than the rest. Another classic, All Quiet on the Western Front. For me, I love war. I love history. I skimmed through this a little bit. This, for me, is what they say it is, the greatest war novel of all time. It makes you feel like you were in war with these people. It talks about Germans, pretty much German boys, who enlist in World War One. German classmates, actually, that went to school together. But it's just, it's horrific at times. It's sad. But it gives you a feel of what it was like, a good read. Not fantasy at all, but it's a good read though, for sure. The last book I have here is just a little fun book. My girlfriend got it for me. The Zombie Survival Guide. Okay. If you like the channel, I did a few Walking Dead videos. I love Walking Dead, and I love survival. And this kind of goes along with Robinson Caruso. Because it just shows how to survive, not even a zombie apocalypse. It's actually useful stuff. It shows how to survive, like a nuclear attack, or even a terrorist attack, or some kind of power outage, or anything like that, natural disaster. It's just cool. It shows you actual legit strategies and the legit things to do, and how to make a fire, all this stuff. So it's definitely cool to have. It's a fun read. I skimmed through it a few times. I've read most of it actually, but it's a good book to read, just a little fun thing. But that's all the books I have. Small little collection I have. But yeah, the top one I recommend, The Name of the Wind, for sure. The Kingkiller Chronicle series. Definitely. If you're getting into fantasy, definitely check this one out first, Well, The Name of the Wind first. But Wise Man's Fear second. Can't say enough good things, though. But But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Those are some of the few books I have. I have some other ones, but they're not really related to this. They're kind of just random ones. So, but yeah, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Check out. I'll put some more books in the description that I don't have that I want to read and I recommend as well. But yeah, thank you for watching.